Hello and welcome to the Roy Rogers News Channel. Thank you so much for watching. And for today's ability video, well, we're going to dive into a certain touch in when the Pokemon touches the opponent in just the right way, you might be able to poison that Pokemon. And with me to discuss this ability is a certain Team Rocket agent that has technology to poison Pokemon. Team Rocket YouTube, would you like to say hello, everybody?
Hello, everybody.
Excellent. All right. Don't be poisoning Pokemon.
Might have to, man. Muck's a pretty infamous Team Rocket Pokemon.
Oh, man. Oof. All right. Anyway, so Team Rocket YouTube, are you ready to discuss this certain ability that could be toxic for people?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
Excellent. All right. Now, you might be asking me, hey, Roy and Team Rocket Agent, so what is Poison Touch? And that's a good question. Poison Touch basically poisons targets when a Pokemon makes contact. So there's a 30% chance that the poison is going to proc. Now, of note, you can stack it with something else. So for example, let's just say that the Pokemon uses the move Ice Punch, right? So not only do you have a 30% chance to poison, but also you have an additional percentage of freezing your opponent. But you say, hey, I want to have some sort of status on the Pokemon. Well then, Poison Touch may be the ability for you. Team Rocket YouTube, do you have any commentary to say about our certain Poison Touch ability?
Yeah, I think Poison Touch is really powerful because, let's say, for example, you use the move Zen Headbutt, which has the chance to flinch. You'd have the opportunity to, flinch the opponent and, get that Poison Touch opportunity because it's a physical move. Any physical move that has that percent chance, whether it be T-Punch, Ice Punch, whatever it may be, that it stacks, and that's really powerful, honestly.
And before we dive into all the Pokemon that have access to this ability, I would like to give a brief prerequisite, and I'm not going to be talking about the pre-evolutions, and that is because I don't want to waste your time. I should also note that two of the Pokemon also have their hidden abilities as Poison Touch. Now that some of this taping, those two Pokemon are currently not released on PokeMMO yet. However, we're going to discuss as if they are released on PokeMMO, so that way in a few years, when these Pokemon are implemented on PokeMMO, you can come back to this video. I want for this video to be useful. So for people that are watching this video a few years later, and for anyone that wants commentary on a Poison Touch hidden ability Pokemon, and you say, oh, Roy talked about it. Well then, I'm glad to be able to service you here in this video. This is a note for anyone in the future that has access to two Poison Touch Pokemon that we're about to discuss. And Team Rocket YouTube, are you ready to discuss all the Pokemon?
Absolutely, I'm ready to discuss these Pokemon and have this information stand the test of time. Let's get into it.
Excellent. All right, let's go and dive into our very first Pokemon, shall we? And what is it? It is Muck. Now you might be wondering, hey Roy and Team Rocket, what are the main benefits to Muck? And that's a good question. Let's go and start off with the fact that its stat layout is really nice in terms of bulk. You have excellent HP, you have excellent defense, and a really superb special defense stat. Why is that good? Well, let's go ahead and go into the story mode for a moment. So basically what Muck allows for you to do is you can be able to take several hits from different gym leaders and different trainers, and you can be able to mold Muck to do that. And even better, Muck can be able to learn Drain Punch. So that means that if Muck is on low health, no problem, just use Drain Punch, you should be able to restore your health back, and you can be able to do that really well with Muck. And also would like to note that Muck has access to elemental punches, so you have access to Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, and Fire Punch, and there you go, and each with their respective chances. So Thunder Punch has a chance to paralyze, Fire Punch has a chance to burn, and Ice Punch has a chance to freeze. However, with Poison Touch, you also have an additional 30% probability to poison on top of that. So that means if you don't get a paralyzed, burn, or freeze, at least you have a chance to poison. Now keep in mind this is just regular poison, this is not bad poison, but nonetheless it's still a status. And that's good, especially if you're in a pretty long-winded fight against certain gym leaders, right? Especially if gym leaders have a bulky Pokemon that you're fighting up against, you can be able to use Muck in that way. Another main benefit to Muck is this: you have access to the Momentum move. And what is that? Well, let's just say that you have other teammates, right? Basically what Memento does is that, well, at the cost of Muck's life, basically Muck can lower down your opponent's attack stat and special attack stat significantly for the next Pokemon coming in. So Muck can be a really good teammate if you have a story mode team. So you can have Muck learn Memento. Also of note is that Muck can be able to learn Shadow Sneak via an egg move. So that's really cool, and what that does is that it gives Muck a priority move. And you don't have to rely on things like Sucker Punch where you have to wait for your opponent to attack. No! You can attack! You can use Shadow Sneak. And why is that good? Let's just say you're fighting against Sabrina, and Sabrina has Alakazam, right? And Muck has that 105 attack stat, you have Adamant, maximum HP, maximum attack EVs, and let's just say that you're fighting against Sabrina's Alakazam, right? So basically what you can do, you can use Shadow Sneak if Muck is in there with Alakazam, so you'll be able to use that, and that's really cool. And now I would like to talk a bit about its drawbacks. So despite Muck having a really excellent moveset, and I would like to note that it does also have access to Zen Headbutt, which does have a chance to have your opponent flinch, and you also have a poison chance too, so that's really cool. But I need to talk about its drawbacks. First and foremost, Muck is a Chaos egg group, and Chaos is typically a very expensive egg group, so you might want to count that into your breeding expenses. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the fact that Muck has access to Body Slam, which also has a chance to paralyze, and also you have that poison chance too, so that's really cool. Just want to throw that in there. But I need to talk about more of its drawbacks though. Another thing I would like to note is that Poison Touch is a hidden ability for Muck. So there might be a bit of some hoops you need to jump through in order to get Poison Touch on your Muck. And also I would like to note this, your speed stat is pretty low, despite Muck's excellent moveset. I mean, you're going to have to contend with a base speed stat of 50, and you're going to have to try to figure out what Pokemon are faster than me and what Pokemon are not faster than me. And how can I be able to withstand some of these hits? So that's a question you need to ask for Muck, but by golly, I have to say that Muck is pretty much the poster child for what a good Poison Touch Pokemon is. Team Rocket YouTube, do you have any commentary to say about Muck? Because I know that Jesse and I'm forgetting the red-haired lady name for Team Rocket. I remember they had a Muck or something in some episode some time ago. What's your commentary about Muck?
Yeah, I think Muck is a really powerful Pokemon with the Poison Touch ability, just because of the amount of coverage that you can put on it. Like Roy mentioned earlier, you get access to Zen Headbutt, you get access to the Elemental Punches. So not only do you get that good coverage, but you also get the ability to, get the chance to poison the mon that you're, physically attacking. So, with Zen Headbutt, you get the 20% flinch chance, and you get that 30% poison. With the T-Punch, you get paralyzed chance, that 10% plus that 30% for poison. So just the fact that you get all that coverage is really powerful. And like Roy mentioned earlier, obviously the speed isn't too crazy, but you get access to Shadow Sneak, which is a priority move. So, if you wanted to build it in a way to where, you have Shadow Sneak for that coverage, with that move type, but you also get that priority plus the poison chance. It's just, really powerful, and it allows you the ability to mold the Pokemon to, how you want to build it.
Now you might be saying, hey Roy, I want Shadow Sneak as an egg move. Well, you can pretty much have Misdreavus there in your breeding group, so have a male Misdreavus if you want to have Shadow Sneak there. And also, I have authored the egg move guide, so feel free to check that down in the description below if you really want Shadow Sneak on Muck. So feel free to check that out. And also, I would like to note this, that Muck has so many good tools. Even though, yes, the speed stat is base 50, at the exact same time, you can be able to say, hey, Muck can be a support Pokemon, or it can be an attacking Pokemon, which is really cool. Team Rocket YouTube, are you ready to discuss the very next Pokemon?
Absolutely, let's get into it.
Alright, excellent. And this Pokemon became really good the moment that Game Freak gave it this hidden ability. What is it? It is Toxicroak. Alright, so what are the main benefits of Toxicroak? And that's a good question. Just like Muck, Toxicroak is pretty much a nice bag of moves. I mean, you have the Elemental Punches, you have your Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, and that's really cool. And also, unlike Muck, Toxicroak has a base 85 speed stat, which is actually going to be the fastest Poison Touch Pokemon that you can have access to. Which is really nice, because you can mold it in a way where you'll be able to hit your opponent with the Thunder Punch, Fire Punch, or Ice Punch, and you'll be able to go first a fair amount of time. Also of note, Toxicroak has access to Dual Chop, which means you get that double chance to be able to poison your opponent, which is really cool. Now, I would also like to note this, that Toxicroak does also have access to Drain Punch, so that means that you can be able to sap away HP, and you can be able to recover Toxicroak's health. And I should note that Toxicroak is part fighting, so that means that Drain Punch is going to be stab, so that's going to mean that Drain Punch is going to hit a little harder, and that's going to be cool. So that's what I like about Toxicroak there. And it just has really good base stats. I mean, when you have an HP stat of 83, And then defense and special defense are not too bad. I mean, they could be a little better, but base 65 for defense and special defense, I mean, that's not bad. Toxicroak can take a fair amount of abuse. But now I gotta talk about some of its drawbacks. It's a humanoid egg group. So humanoid has the exact same problem as Chaos in that it might be a bit expensive to breed the Toxicroak, considering the fact that not a lot of people hunt for humanoid. There is a bit of a bone that PokeMMO throws you, and it'd be the fact that Spinda exists. So since Spinda is both field and humanoid, maybe you could be able to try to budget your breeds a little better. But otherwise, that's going to be a bit of a drawback because humanoid is not an egg group that people typically hunt for. Also, another main drawback is this. Poison Touch is a hidden ability for our friend Toxicroak. So that means that it's going to take quite a bit of some hoops for you to jump over just to get a Poison Touch Toxicroak. At the time of this taping, Poison Touch Toxicroak is not implemented on PokeMMO. However, when it is implemented, then you might need to do a few things first, and then you can get that Poison Touch Toxicroak. I should note that there is one more con as well. Given the fact that, unlike Muck, Toxicroak doesn't have access to Body Slam, which means that the only way that Toxicroak can be able to have a remote chance of paralyzing is if Toxicroak either uses the moves Thunder Punch or Bounce. So I would like to note that Thunder Punch is much better because Bounce is a 2-turn move. So I'd like to note that about Bounce. And also, Toxicroak doesn't have access to support tools. I mean, Muck has access to Memento. Toxicroak doesn't have access to any sort of thing that can help support the team. So, Team Rocket YouTube, do you have any commentary to say about our certain Poison Dart Frog?
Yeah, once again, I think Toxicroak is really wonderful. Like you mentioned, the speed is a lot higher than Muck, obviously, so you'd have a lot more opportunity to go first. Additionally, it gives you a lot more with that 30% base chance of poisoning just by having Poison Touch to begin with. Let's say you use Cross Poison, for example, which usually has a 10% chance, that ups it to a 30% chance plus the crit chance. So that's pretty nice, and then additionally, you could also teach Bounce on it via tutor move, so you could get that paralyzed chance plus the poison chance if you wanted to. Yeah, so one amazing thing about Toxicroak is you can actually learn Fake Out on it, which, if you didn't know, gives you 100% chance to flinch your opponent. So what you could technically do is you could, get that 100% flinch, and you get that 30% chance to poison right off the gate, so you could just, start the match, get that 30% chance, and, if you get it, then you get it, and then they're already flinched, they can't do anything about it. It's super powerful. It's just like, you get a lot of coverage moves, like Bounce is a flying move, technically you have prio moves like Bullet Punch that you can egg move onto it for a steal prio move with the 30% chance. So it's really nice. It gives you the opportunity to really mold this Pokemon to whatever battle you really want to, have it be good for, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, you got Bullet Punch. That's nice. You can be able to breed the Toxicroak with a Machamp or a Machop or something, and then you can be able to have Croc with Bullet Punch. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Thank you so much, Team Rocket YouTube, for bringing that to my attention. And also, thank you so much for bringing Fake Out to my attention as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, in general, I would just say Toxicroak may be a bit expensive, but I would say it's really good. Just like Muck. Muck is really good for a different reason. But both Muck and Toxicroak have their own niches. Alright, Team Rocket YouTube, are you ready to discuss the very last Pokemon?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's get into it.
Another SpongeBob reference. Alright.
Yeah.
There we go. In our interview, I know you talked about SpongeBob a lot, so... Yeah, there we go. So this is like the third time you did a SpongeBob reference here on Roy Rogers News. Anyway, so let's go and dive into the very last Pokemon. The Pokemon you can have access to at the time of this taping. And that would be Seismitoad. Alright, so what are the main benefits to Seismitoad? And that's a good question. Considering the fact that Poison Touch is not a hidden ability, that's really nice, because what that means is that you could be able to have a Poison Touch Seismitoad. In fact, when I was just starting NU, I remember a mentor of mine actually gave me a Seismitoad to borrow it for Poison Touch, and actually it performed pretty well in NU, but I'm not going to really discuss PvP too much, but that is my experience with Seismitoad. Besides that one experience, Seismitoad has access to Drain Punch by evolution, so if you evolve Palpitoad into Seismitoad, then you can be able to have Drain Punch as an Evo move. So that means you can be able to save money on the TMs, so that's really cool. And also, another main benefit to Seismitoad is this: you have access to Ice Punch. Not Thunder Punch, not Fire Punch, Ice Punch. So you can be able to have that chance to freeze your opponent, or you have a chance to poison your opponents. That's really cool. And also, you have access to Bounce, so you have a chance to paralyze your opponent as well. And also, I should note, that Seismitoad does have a pretty cheap egg group to go for, Water A, so that's really cool. And also the HP stat is not bad. I mean, base 105, and then you have a base 75 defense and special defense. That's better than Toxicroak. I would still say that Toxicroak is better than Seismitoad. I'll get to why later. I'm going to just say that in general, Seismitoad is really good at its job in terms of taking a fair amount of abuse. So those are the perks for our friend Seismitoad. But now we gotta talk about its drawbacks. Oh boy! So first and foremost, Seismitoad does not have access to many moves. Doesn't have access to Thunder Punch, doesn't have access to Fire Punch. Here's another drawback. Unlike its friends Toxicroak and Muck, Seismitoad doesn't have any sort of priority move. Nothing! It doesn't have access to being able to knock out Pokemon if it needs to. It doesn't have access to Bullet Punch, it doesn't have access to Shadow Sneak, it doesn't have access to anything in terms of priority. So that's something that might be a bit of a problem for our friend Seismitoad. Also of note, Seismitoad really does try to merge Muck and Toxicroak's job, but the issue is that it's terrible in both Muck and Toxicroak's job. But it does try its best though. And one more main drawback, Muck and Toxicroak are poison type. That means that they could be able to hold Black Sludge, and they could be able to recover, and considering the fact that Black Sludge is actually pretty cheap in the market. As time is taping, you'll be able to get Black Sludge for an extremely cheap 1.4k per Black Sludge. So that's really cool, and Seismitoad doesn't have access to that. So that's going to be a bit of a problem for our friend Seismitoad. One more main drawback about Seismitoad that I got to mention here, maybe the fact that since Seismitoad is not a poison type, what that means is that Seismitoad is also vulnerable being poisoned itself. So you got to be careful how you use that Seismitoad. And Team Rocket YouTube, do you have any commentary to say about our certain blue frog?
So I think Seismitoad is very interesting because Muck and Toxicroak are, like you said, both poison types, and Seismitoad is a water ground type. And the reason that's interesting is, like you said, it can get poisoned, but it also gets the 1.5x stab bonus on any water ground moves. And if you look around at what physical ground and water type moves it has, two that come to mind, you know, if you wanted to have an HN Mon, you know, a Mon that has a lot of HN moves, you could run Dive and Dig on this Pokemon, and then that way you would have those abilities when you're running around the region, and then you could also get stab bonus on them with the ability to poison as well if your poison touch ability. So it's very versatile, it's very useful.
Oh yeah, certainly. But the issue that I have with Seismitoad is that it really does try to merge Muck and Toxicroak's job, and it's just terrible at doing both those jobs. I wish that Seismitoad can have its own individuality. So that is my gripe with Seismitoad.
I would definitely agree with you on that. My gripe would definitely be the fact that it's not a Team Rocket Pokemon like Muck is. So, you know, I'm obviously going to favorite Muck over it any day.
Oh yeah, certainly. And without further ado, Team Rocket YouTube, are you ready to discuss the rankings?
Yes, let's get into it.
All right, excellent. This is going to be a pretty clean rating because actually we only have access to 3 Pokemon. So let's go ahead and dive into all those rankings right now. So the number 1 Pokemon, and man, this was a really close ranking, but I came up with an answer. You know what it is?
Is it Toxicroak?
You are correct. The reason why I picked Toxicroak as number 1 is because of the fact that it is fast, it has access to Bullet Punch, it has access to Drain Punch, which is Stab. Keep in mind, same type attack bonus, so you have an extra set of damage as well. You have access to Cross Poison, as our friend Team Rocket YouTube discussed. So that's also Stab, and you have a chance to poison too. You also have access to Fake Out, so not only do you have that 100% flinch, but also you have a 30% chance to poison on top of that. And also, you have access to the Elemental Punches, which is really cool. You have access to Dual Chop, so you could be able to hit starting targets 2 times, and you could be able to have a chance to knock them out, so that's pretty cool. Now, of note, I know that there are a fair amount of starting targets with high defense stat. That's something you might want to watch out for. But other than that, if you know that there's a Pokemon with Sturdy, and if they don't have that high of a defense stat, then Dual Chop would certainly be a good way to clean them out. Also, as for the number 2 ranking, I have to give it to our slimy friend Muck. And that is because Muck is a good helper. In terms of it having access to Shadow Sneak by an Egg move, access to Memento, so in case you have other teammates, you can be able to lower down your opponent's attack and special attack. And also you have access to all the elemental punches. You have access to Zen Headbutt, so you have a chance to flinch and you have a chance to poison. You have access to Body Slam, and you have access to Drain Punch to be able to recover your HP. Yeah, it might not be Stab, but Muck has a base 105 attack stat, which is really nice. That's something that is really cool about Muck. And also, another thing about our slimy friend here, is that it has access to Shadow Sneak, so in case you're concerned about psychic targets, no problem, Muck will be able to target that as well. It does have access to Shadow Punch via an egg move, but go for Shadow Sneak because Shadow Sneak is priority. So Muck is number 2. Now as for number 3, let's go ahead and talk about the last Pokemon here, Seismitoad. Because Seismitoad, I mean, the thing about it is that even though yes, it's not a hidden ability, at the same time, Seismitoad in general is really underwhelming as the time of this taping. It doesn't have access to Waterfall, it only has access to Dive, it doesn't have access to a fair amount of moves that I wish it had access to, and Seismitoad really does try to mold both Muck and Toxicroak's role into one Pokemon, and it fails at that. Seismitoad really needs its individuality, because with that, I think Seismitoad can be really good. So Team Rocket, YouTube, do you have any commentary to say about our Poison Dart Frog, our Slimy Friend, or our Ground Frog?
I think Toxicroak has it because it's a fighting type. As a tutor move, it has Fake Out, so you could, technically you could use Fake Out for that 100% flinch chance and that 30% poison chance, and you'd get priority with it. So if you wanted to lead the battle with a chance to poison right off the gate without having any penalty, you can just run Fake Out and then you have the opportunity to poison there with the 100% flinch. That's super powerful. That's actually super good, especially if for PvP application that it ever did come out, Poison Touch.
So those are all my rankings. Toxicroak in general is really good at its job. Muck is also good at its job as well. Don't be discouraged by its second ranking there. Muck and Toxicroak are running really close, but I did have to give it to Toxicroak because Toxicroak has a lot more access to different moves, and Muck is just a good utility Pokemon in general in terms of the story mode. Seismitoad, which Seismitoad was good. Team Rocket YouTube, you have to say something about our groundwater toad.
I wish it was good too. It has an interesting typing, which makes it pretty unique for having Poison Touch, especially because it's not a hidden ability. It has a lot of that going for it, but I just wish it had more moves and just had more opportunity to be better,
Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the video. So Team Rocket YouTube, thank you so much for being a part of the PokeMMO Ability series.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I've watched a lot of these, so it's really exciting to finally be in one.
I thought you'd be the perfect person for Poison Touch because you are Team Rocket after all, and Team Rocket is pretty poisonous.
That we are. We are quite the poisonous group.
Alright, with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. This is the Roy Rogers News Channel, and thank you again, Team Rocket YouTube, for being a co-host on this video.
Yeah, absolutely. Smell you later.
Excellent. Alright, this is Roy Rogers News Channel. Don't forget to comment, down, subscribe channel, like the things you hear, and this is the Roy Rogers News Channel signing off. Fast, accurate, and biased, Roy Rogers News.